I get what you're trying to say. You got married because of money, right? Don't talk nonsense. It's pretty clear, right? You're someone like me, a poor single mom. That's why you're still here even after your husband passed away. You're really annoying every day. I'm Mia, 35 years old, and I often hear snarky comments like this from Emma. My dad died when I was little, so my mom raised me on her own. Luckily, my mom kept working even after she got married again. So we weren't super poor, but we definitely weren't rich. Still, my mom was always happy and she worked hard for me. Because of that, I never really felt lonely growing up. I planned to start working right after high school, but my mom had been saving up for my college education. I really loved studying and wanted to go to college, but I didn't want to add more stress to my mom's life. She had worked hard to raise me and I wanted to ease her burden. Then, when my mom suggested I go to college, I was thrilled. She got married at 23 and had me at 25. In my third year of high school, when she was 43 and still healthy and active, she told me to follow my dreams. She said she'd be more upset if I gave up on my future because of money worries. Her words moved me to tears. I took on a part-time job to help pay for tuition, and because of that, I graduated from college without needing student loans. After college, I got a job at a big company. I worked hard every day because I wanted to make life easier for my mom. Within 5 years of starting at the company, I got promoted to an administrative assistant and my salary went up. I was able to treat my mom to trips and buy her the massage chair she always wanted. 2 years later, my hard work paid off and I was promoted again, this time to executive assistant. During this time, I got to know the president's son, Ethan, and we started dating. Eventually, we got married. People would congratulate me and say, "Congratulations, Mia. Be happy." "Yes, thank you for everything," I said, deeply grateful, and my mom was moved to tears. She was incredibly happy for me, and it was a really joyful time. But that happiness didn't last long. Just 2 years into our marriage, my husband suddenly passed away. He collapsed at work, holding his chest, and was rushed to the hospital. But by the time I got there, he had already stopped breathing. That morning, I had watched him leave for work, saying goodbye tearfully. I never imagined such a terrible thing could happen. The shock was so intense that I could hardly speak. It was unimaginable that both my mom and I would lose our husbands. I could only imagine the pain of Benjamin, the president who had lost his only son. He looked so alone and devastated, just like me. I kept working even after I got married, and as the executive assistant, I spent a lot of time with the president, especially during the day, so I could see firsthand how sad he was. But there was one person who didn't seem to be grieving at all: Emma. Because we lived together after I got married, I quickly noticed her behavior. Actually, Emma wasn't related by blood to my husband. Benjamin's real mom died when he was just 3 years old. Knowing it would be hard for a man to raise a child alone, he remarried when Benjamin started elementary school, thanks to a friend's introduction. "No, if something happens to my husband, all his property will be mine." "What are you saying?" "Ethan is gone. Lighten up, it was just a joke." I thought a little cheer might help everyone in these gloomy times. Please think about the timing and situation. You must be upset that your plans didn't work out. Now you won't get any of our husband's money. I never expected to get anything from the beginning. Do you really think I would marry a man like Ethan, who doesn't say much, unless I was after something? Stop talking to me like that. He was irreplaceable. Emma seemed to think I would leave as soon as my husband passed away, but I didn't. Benjamin was acting strong at work, but I could see he was pushing himself too hard. So I couldn't leave the house to someone like Emma. Plus, even though we'd only been there for 2 years, our home was full of memories of my dear husband. I wanted to cherish those memories for a while. You can't just forget feelings. The time I spent with my husband was happy for me. My husband once told me that Emma was more like a roommate than a mother to him. She was often out, and when Benjamin was away on business, she wouldn't come home until late. But my husband didn't want to worry Benjamin, so he didn't say anything. Emma was kind when Benjamin was around, but her behavior changed drastically when he wasn't. It was like there were two Emmas. When Benjamin left for work, Emma would see him off with a smile. "I'm counting on you to look after Ethan." Of course, Ethan is precious to me too. Knowing you're there for him lets me focus on my work. Don't worry, just do your best at work. Thank you. Have a good day. But as soon as he left and the door closed behind him, Emma's smile disappeared. Ah, finally, he's gone. Now, where should I go today? Maybe I'll invite a friend to the movies. You're going out again? Yes. Is that a problem? Oh no. Just remember not to bother your father with unnecessary things. He's working hard for you. If you say something, he'll worry and won't be able to concentrate. So just quietly study at home every day, okay? I understand that was their daily routine, and it seemed like Benjamin didn't mind it once he got used to it. In fact, he felt more comfortable when he wasn't paid too much attention. As a child, he saw Emma as more like his dad's wife than his mom. Benjamin was always grateful to Emma for helping out when he was small, which allowed his dad to focus on work. Benjamin's company was passed down from his step-grandfather, and he was really good at running it. Under his leadership, the company grew a lot. Now he's managing 5 businesses, each making millions of dollars every year. So Benjamin was always super busy. My husband used to tell me that when Benjamin was a kid, he hardly had time to relax at home. Seeing him tired from work every day, my husband didn't want to bother him with unnecessary stuff, like mentioning Emma. Plus, Benjamin didn't feel neglected, so there was no need to trouble him. He was okay keeping his concerns about Emma to himself. That's just how he was, laid back. He didn't seem like a typical heir to a big company. Did you ever get mad about it? Nah, not really. I was fine as long as she was home. It gave my dad peace of mind, and we always had plenty of snacks. My husband laughed it off, never making a big deal out of it. I loved that about him. They weren't mean to me, they just didn't pay much attention to me. Sure, Emma would sometimes make snide comments, but I just brushed it off as typical mother-in-law stuff. She was often out doing her own thing, so we didn't see each other much, and her comments didn't really bother me. If my husband wasn't bothered by it, I didn't see a reason to bring it up. However, Emma's spending habits did bother me a bit, as I've always been thrifty. But since neither Benjamin nor my husband said anything, I kept my thoughts to myself. But after my husband passed away, seeing Emma splurging on luxuries while Benjamin was heartbroken made me uneasy. A man who was like a son to him had died, yet Emma showed no signs of grief, which made me even more upset. Emma, please try to support Benjamin. Even though he's acting okay, he's really feeling lonely, I pleaded. Why should I listen to you? What's your motive, huh? Trying to get into our family for inheritance? I never even thought about that. Well, Ethan's gone now. So why don't you just leave? I'm not leaving. Benjamin said I can stay as long as I need to. Emma gave me an annoyed look but didn't say anything else. She probably felt relieved knowing I wouldn't inherit Benjamin's wealth. But 3 years after my husband's death, Emma was getting more annoyed with me being around. Her sarcastic comments were getting more frequent and hurtful. Whether at home or work, I'm always with Benjamin. Emma seemed to think I was trying to manipulate him to get his money. It hurt to be seen that way, and I started questioning if it was right to stay in a house where my husband was no longer alive. I could feel the pressure of Benjamin's situation at work every day. Maybe it would be better for me to go back to living with my single mom instead of staying here and dealing with Emma's sarcasm. My mom is turning 60 this year, and last year marked the 3rd anniversary of my dad's passing. I had been thinking about my future when Benjamin suddenly collapsed. He was lucky to survive, but there was a good chance he would need care even after leaving the hospital. Things didn't immediately fall apart at the company when Benjamin collapsed because he had trained his successors well. However, I noticed a change in Emma's attitude. That man, God, he got what he deserved, she muttered. He's been so tight with money lately. What do you mean, tight with money? I asked. Our credit card limit has been reduced and our living expenses have been cut. Is the company in trouble? I don't think so, Emma, I replied. As it turned out, Emma missed her husband's 3rd anniversary ceremony last year because she was hungover from a wild night out, which Benjamin discovered when he checked the credit card bill. Even though Benjamin rarely checked Emma's spending, this time he did. Missing their son's memorial was too much, even for him. In his anger, Benjamin decided to limit the money Emma could spend. However, she still had enough for a normal life, so there was no need to complain. Benjamin himself mentioned that the company might be facing difficulties. Emma's absence affected him deeply, and before he realized it, things started to go downhill. I explained. Don't act clueless. You know it as well. All because we lost our only son. How does that justify jeopardizing the company? No, I honestly didn't, I replied, but Emma persisted. Even though he's not well, he plans to take it easy at home and live a long life. He's been telling people that the doctors said he could live to 100. That's reassuring. There's nothing good about it. If he lives that long needing care, it won't be a joke, Emma said, her nostrils flaring. Emma's angry rant about Benjamin calling him dull and annoying left me feeling uneasy. Who did she think had been paying for her extravagant lifestyle? Even if Benjamin's company was struggling, she could at least offer to help support him, I thought. And then Emma dropped another bombshell. So I've decided to divorce him. Pardon? Just think about it. The company might be in trouble. What if we end up in debt? It's smart to settle the property and leave before we run out of money. Are you going to leave Benjamin when he needs help? I can't handle taking care of an old man who's bedridden and broke. I'm going to take what I can before his will runs out and then say goodbye. Does that make sense to you? Emma's words, spoken as if she had a brilliant plan, filled me with disgust. However, just a week after our conversation, Benjamin's health took a sudden turn for the worse, and he passed away very quickly. He's gone too, I said, feeling overwhelmed. Just 3 years after my husband passed, everything seemed to go dark. I continued, my voice trembling. Benjamin's voice sounded so much like my husband's. Sometimes when we talked, it felt like I was talking to my husband again. Not being able to talk to him or hear his voice anymore was too much to bear. Oh, that man has gone to the afterlife. What perfect timing, Emma said, her voice almost gleeful. He still had assets left, right? His company didn't collapse yet. Maybe he died before getting into debt because of me. This means all remaining assets go to me. How fantastic. Emma's words, said with such heartlessness, made me furious. Even though Benjamin just passed away, all you can think about is money? I said, my voice shaking with anger. Ah, you caught on, huh? Well, tough luck for you. You're not getting any money from the family, Emma snapped back. I'd rather have Benjamin back alive than any money, I said, feeling tears welling up. Don't act all noble now. You're just putting on a show, trying to look strong for everyone, right? Even if you begged, there's not a penny to spare for you, Emma declared firmly. Even though Benjamin had passed away, it seemed like Emma cared more about money than anything else. It made me wonder how someone could be so cold-hearted. Thinking about it made me feel even more sorry for Benjamin, which just made my sadness worse. Fine then, you don't have to come to the funeral. Is that it? Only strangers are welcome, Emma said, her voice filled with scorn. I understand, that's how things are, I replied calmly, even though my heart was weighed down by sorrow. Emma didn't seem to grasp the reality of the situation, but I didn't feel like explaining it to her. Are you sure about that? Emma said sharply. Absolutely. Now that he's passed away, I, as his wife, am in charge, Emma declared with a sense of entitlement. So 2 days later, Benjamin's funeral took place quietly, with only close relatives present, honoring his wish for a simple ceremony. After the funeral, I noticed several missed calls from Emma on my phone, but I chose not to return them. Despite her attempts to reach me multiple times afterward, I decided to ignore her completely. Then one day, she unexpectedly showed up at my workplace. I finally caught you. Why haven't you been answering my calls? Emma demanded. Hola, Emma, how can I help you? I replied nervously. Still playing games. I got kicked out of the funeral home. You're the one who should have been excluded. I called you so many times on the day. What's going on? Well, you're not part of my family anymore, Emma. What? But you said only family could attend the funeral, so we had a family-only service. And then I asked Emma, who's now a stranger, not to come. No, the stranger here is you, Emma. What? When Benjamin got sick and was told he'd be bedridden, Emma served him with divorce papers. She probably thought since Benjamin was hospitalized, he couldn't file those papers. But I had already filed them, as Benjamin asked me to. So Emma is a stranger to us now, in name and in reality. Back then, Benjamin confided a lot in me. He told Emma that the company was in trouble and he might end up in debt. If that happened, they couldn't live their lavish lifestyle anymore. He suggested they live more modestly as a couple if Emma was willing to support him. But Emma coldly said, maybe it's better to split before you're in debt. 1 month later, Benjamin collapsed. Even after he woke up, he knew his health was bad. But he didn't tell Emma everything. He hinted that he might have to let go of the company and rely on her for care. Emma then suggested divorce. She probably wanted to divorce before he was seriously ill and get some money through a property settlement. But Benjamin, knowing his time was limited, had already donated most of his assets to charity and appointed new leaders for his companies, so there was hardly anything left for Emma. When he told her this, she was shocked. "So, I don't get anything." "Well, technically, it's not nothing. I left a few $100s in savings," I explained. "A few $100? That's hardly anything." Emma scoffed. Even though Benjamin had told me about this before, saying it out loud made me realize how determined he was. He probably didn't want to share any property with Emma. Maybe it was Emma's behavior after her husband's passing that made Benjamin so firm. "But there's still the house. If I sell that—" "Oh yes, please find somewhere else to live soon. I'm staying with Mom for now, but I'll move back eventually." "What are you talking about? You're practically a stranger. You have even less right to the house than I do. Like I said before, you're the stranger here, Emma, since you're already divorced. Plus, the house was originally inherited by Benjamin from his grandfather, so it's not considered for property division in a divorce. Why do you think you have a right to live there?" "Because when I married Benjamin, we legally adopted each other." "What? So I have the right to inherit Benjamin's property? Benjamin left me that house. It's hard to believe, isn't it?" "The idea of adopting me came from Benjamin himself. When we got married, I didn't think much about it. I was going to be marrying his son, so in his eyes, I became his daughter. So I agreed to it. But after my husband passed away, I kept this information to myself. I was worried that if I mentioned it, Emma would accuse me of being interested in the family money. I have work to do. Could you please leave?" I told Emma that if she needed to communicate anything, she should do it through our lawyers. I had sought advice from our company's legal counsel. I called security and had Emma escorted out of the company premises. I made it clear she wasn't welcome back. Emma resisted, but when I threatened to call the police, she left quietly. After that, she tried to contact me many times, but I ignored her completely. Her attempts to claim our fortune only led to complaints to our lawyer. Our company wasn't going under, and Emma couldn't understand why. She argued that if it went bankrupt, there should be wealth to share. But the company had been handed over to a successor before Benjamin passed away, so there was nothing left for Emma to claim. As for the family's properties, they had already been settled in the divorce before Benjamin's death. Our lawyer patiently explained that Emma had no right to any of it. Our lawyer, somewhat frustrated, told us that Emma had been persistent. Emma had thought she was entitled to a share of the will and had recklessly run up debt on her credit card. Now she was stuck paying it off, working multiple part-time jobs from morning till night. However, her financial problems were not my concern. Emma was 10 years younger than Benjamin. They had married when she was 25, and now she was 55. They had been married for almost 30 years, so Emma was entitled to survivor benefits from Benjamin's Social Security taxes even after their divorce. However, she wouldn't get these benefits until she turned 60, which was still 5 years away. Plus, she needed to have filed a claim for a division of the pension within 2 years of the divorce. I wasn't sure if Emma knew this, nor did I intend to tell her. I felt no sympathy or obligation to worry about Emma's well-being. Now I live in a home I once shared with my mom, Benjamin, and my husband. My days pass calmly and peacefully. Sometimes I remember my husband and Benjamin and smile, and sometimes tears come, but remembering their warm smiles, I want to live each day with a smile on my face too.